is I travel around the world, really, at this point. I've been to Afghanistan as a senator and as a soldier, Pakistan, Israel, Dubai, Jordan, visiting world leaders, visiting our troops, meeting with business leaders, and all they talk about is jobs. That's it. And then we're back in the Senate, and we do very little to talk about jobs. And I've been, quite frankly, a little bit disgusted as to what's been going on. The lack of cooperation, because I've said for over a month and a half now, I've felt it my whole life, but for the last month and a half, I've been telling people down in Washington, you know what, we're Americans first. We're not Democrats or Republicans first, we're Americans first. And to me what that means is, we have to find that common ground and work together to solve problems. And that's what I'm trying to do, whether it's dealing with a lot of the budgetary issues, working in armed services, homeland, veterans, small business, trying to solve problems in a bipartisan, bicameral manner, because for all the Democrats in here, there's no Democrat bill that's going to pass, folks. It's not happening. For all you Republicans, there's no Republican bill that's going to pass. Bipartisan, bicameral. The only way we're going to get things done is to work together, period. And so what I've been trying to do is my job. While everyone else is doing the gotcha thing, and they're running the negative ads, and they're doing all that stuff a year out, you know what? I'm not throwing rocks. I'm out solving problems, working on trade agreements, treaties, visiting our troops, doing my job, and that's what you sent me there to do. And there's nothing that I'm more honored to do is to continue to serve in the military. I think about it every day. I've been doing it since I was 19, not dissimilar to many of you here. And so I want to thank you all for your service and sacrifice. A lot of familiar faces, people that have been supporting and I've been working with since I was a selectman and a state senator and a state rep back home. A lot of the veterans agents, thank you for what you do. A lot of our wounded warriors, thank you for what you all have done. And all of the spouses. Really, I mean, I'm going to share one story with you, and then I'm going to sit down. It's something that I'll never forget as long as I live. Now, I've been in since I was 19, as I said. I was in 11 Bravo, and then I went to ROTC, and then infantry company commander, quartermaster company commander, airborne, all that stuff. That finally became a JAG. It was a JAG. And I did some mobilizations up in Milford. I remember this guy, he walked in, he was like, dude, 6'5", arms were bigger than my calves. You know what kind of guy I'm talking about. And he could barely fit in his uniform, and he sat down at my desk, and I'm doing his will and his trust and power of attorney, making sure everything is in order. And you could tell something was a little off. You just tell it was just not clicking. And so we started talking and talking. He was kind of, I don't want to say sassy, but he was kind of like, chippy. You know what I mean? And we started talking. I said, can I just ask you a question, Sergeant? Like, what's wrong? And he started like crying. And he said, sir, I just got married. I just had a baby. And I said, well, I'll go through that wall right there. I'll go through that wall for anybody. But I'm scared that that I go there and God forbid something happens, and I never get a chance to see my daughter growing up. And I, somehow, because my wife and I were a little bit shaky right now, and a little concerned that she won't be there either when I come back. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's pretty heavy. How do you deal with that? I called over the pastor. I called over the chaplain. I called over some Red Cross folks. I spoke to the company commander. So we set up that network, the Facebook, the opportunity to communicate on a weekly basis. Did a support system with the spouse back home. So she needed a break to go shopping or get some food. We had the babysitters there. We had the driveway plowed. Everything was good. And don't you know, he came back after his tour of duty and this post-mobilization when we kind of wrapped it up, and he sought me right out. He came right over. I thought he was going to like grab me and pick me up. He adjusted my back, which was good. It's felt good ever since. And he just said, sir, he looked me right in the eye. He said, sir, thank you. My wife and I are solid. I'm psyched. I've been watching my daughter grow up. I'm psyched. And that's really what's important. It's about families. It's about making sure that we have that support network back home. I mean, from what you do, the things you've done, singing pridefully, people respect you, they appreciate your efforts and everything you do, and the VFWs have a new role now with the new fallen, the new soldiers that have have served. It's a new role for the American Legions and for the VFWs, and it's a good thing. So I'm going to continue to battle to provide the tools and resources and fight each and every day for the people that have served and continue to serve. And we have some tough decisions. I was with Secretary Panetta the other day, and Admiral Mullins, and trying to figure out where we go. How do we cut $400 billion out of the military in the middle of 2.5 wars? How do we do it? How do we make sure that the VA is going to be available to continue to provide the resources? How do we do it better? How do we maximize our dollars better? A lot of challenges, and I'm up for it, and I appreciate your time to come. Gail and I are going to stay for a while and participate in the friendship, and then we're going to head into town. And we haven't seen each other for a week. Right? She reminded me the second she got home today on the plane, she reminded me, so we're going to spend a little time together. So thank you. I'm looking forward to being here, and keep battling.
John Brown, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I walked across a county courthouse square. On a park bench, I saw an old man sitting there. I said, the old courthouse is, I believe that she can take a whole lot more. Flag. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the national anthem of the United States of America, the Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the battle's fight o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare of the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the free. Today I would like to give a cursory introduction to, there's fathers here, 2 Gold Star fathers. I'd like to introduce Mr. Stephen Milley and Mr. Paul Monty. Later on, we're going to hear the story of each of their sons. Also in attendance are Mr. Dan Magoon, the Executive Director of the Mass Fallen Heroes and Operation Enduring Freedom, combat veteran, where you serve. Dan. Also in attendance, Mr. Timothy Shea. He's the Mass Rider Captain of the Patriot Guard Motorcycle Group, where you serve. And also Mr. Mark Vonner, President and CEO of the Veterans Developmental Corporation. At this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to retired Lieutenant Colonel of the United States Army, Mr. Daniel Gregory. He has a story and an introduction for one of our very special people here today.
24 September 2008, Staff Sergeant Michael Downing. On a second deployment just south of Kabul, Afghanistan, Michael was on a combat mission with the Afghan police. As the gunner of his vehicle, he was immediately thrown from it by the blast when his vehicle was hit by an IED. The force of the blast threw Michael some 40 feet in the air from his vehicle and directly into enemy territory. Unprotected and having to use his sidearm, he Because his M4 was damaged, Michael quickly returned fire upon his enemy. After calling out to his fellow soldiers to check on their conditions and whereabouts, Michael suddenly realized he had been severely wounded. His patrol leader secured the area around him. Both of Michael's legs and his left elbow were damaged. Michael was then transported to Bagram Air Force Base and on to Germany, before spending 19 months at Walter Reed Medical Hospital.
Finally, I'd like to introduce a gentleman, a fellow trooper, French Electric Blue, State Trooper Johnny Hanna, who lost his brother, the great George Hanna, all the way back in February 26th of 1983. He's here with his family today, his lovely wife and 2 sons and his mother-in-law, and we thank him very much for being in attendance.
Well, like you just told you, we just met last week at an event hosted by Dan McGoon and a lot of the veterans in Boston and around Boston for a much like cause, for a memorial for veterans that were killed in action. And he said that this is what we were doing here, trying to raise funds to build an awesome memorial here in Natick, and just asked if we could come out and show our support, and that's what we're here for. I served in Iraq in 2004. I got a chance to come home and serve veterans at the state. Working through my own little things right now, trying to get back on track, keep myself healthy at the VA. And in my spare time, when I feel up to it, I get to jump on a trike and help veterans that way. I ride for the American Infidels Motorcycle Club, which I'm president of. I'm joined here today with my secretary, Matt Crane. And we just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for the invitation. But it really does take everyone to welcome home veterans, not just another veteran. It takes the family members and friends and everyone around. It takes a community for us to be able to heal and to be able to give back and become a positive member of society, not just a positive member within the veterans community. We don't want to be, isolating ourselves, in our own little watering holes. We want to get out there, help our brothers and sisters coming back, give them the strength, in numbers, and whatever it is that can either get them on their feet or, keep rolling. So once again, thank you very much, and everything that you guys do, is great, and it shows by small communities, big communities coming together and really giving back and saying thank you to everyone. So thank you for this opportunity to share it with you.
Great. Hello, Margaret. We're just thanking you very much. She's the lady in red who's selling the raffle tickets. She still wants you to buy more. Elaine White, where's Elaine? Hello, White. Elaine. The other lady in red who is also doing raffle. Judy Ritchie. Where's Judy Ritchie? Hello, Judy.
Hi, my name is Elaine White. I'm from Natick, Massachusetts, and I'm here to help with the fundraising for the VFW for their memorial. This is my friend
Judy Ritchie. I'm from Natick also.
Judy we're in charge of the table decoration. So we started off slow, and now we're getting more and more involved. And it's something that we're both happy doing.
Both our husbands were veterans.
Nice to meet you, ma'am. So I'd like to bring up to the stage now Mr. Tim Shea. He is known as the Mass Rider Captain of the Patriot Guard motorcycle group. And I would ask Mr. Shea to come on up because he is going to give you an introduction to a very special person.
As I said to Mr. Monty earlier, I wanted to read the narrative of my son, Jared. Approximately 1:30 in the afternoon, UH-60 Blackhawk delivered food and water to the patrol. The patrol secured the supplies and began transporting them back to their observation position. As positioned, Sergeant Liebert used aim shots and patrol bursts to effectively slow the approaching enemy, while members of the patrol consolidated the position behind the rocks at the southern end of the position. As the patrol fell back behind the large rocks, Staff Sergeant Cunningham and Staff Sergeant Monty took charge of the defense. They quickly set up a perimeter, posting soldiers to guard potential approaches to their flanks. They directed turn fire and cautioned soldiers to control their fires to conserve ammunition. Staff Sergeant Monty grabbed his radio handset and cleared the network for call of fire. He He calmly informed headquarters that the patrol was under attack, heavily outnumbered, and at the risk of being overrun. Staff Sergeant Monty provided accurate grid coordinates to the enemy's current positions and likely avenues of approach as RPG skipped off the rocks above his head. Due to the proximity of the enemy forces, Staff Sergeant Monty's call for fire was danger close. While Monty was calling into the sound of the exploding 40mm rounds, Staff Sergeant Monty, for a third time, rose from its covered position and moved into the open, knowing he would again be the focus of enemy fire. Monty spoke briefly with the members of the patrol, telling them that he had made his peace with God, then asked Staff Sergeant Cunningham to tell his parents they loved him. Shortly thereafter, he fell silent. Staff Sergeant Monty was posthumously promoted to Sergeant First Class on June 22, 2006. On September 17, 2009, Staff Sergeant Monty received the Medal of Honor from President Obama.
As if to greet and touch and hold the hands of those who came. Someone might stoop to leave a rose, a letter or a poem, a message to a young man loved and lost, and to show they still remember those who never made it home, built the wall so long and tall, and paid the bitter cost. And every name's a father, or a husband, or a son, or a daughter, or a brother, or a cousin to someone. Or a name might be a classmate, or a friend you may recall. There's nearly 60,000 fallen names waiting at the wall. All I know, left not quite the same, without memories alive and well, and waiting at the wall. And every name's a father, or a husband, or a son, or a father, or a brother, or a cousin to someone. Or a name might be a classmate, or a friend you may recall. There's nearly 60,000 fallen names waiting at the wall. There's nearly 60,000 fallen names still waiting at the wall. Now, when I was growing up as a boy, I didn't know any Celtic songs whatsoever, because I grew up in a little state called Delaware. We didn't have any Celtic influence down in Delaware. You know, we had a chemical company called DuPont. We had a University of Delaware. We had a senator by the name of Biden, but we gave him to you. He's now Vice President of the United States, so I hope that's working out. But you know, when I came up here and became a member of the Massachusetts State Police, I started hearing these great Celtic songs, and I started hearing the pipes, and I thought it was just a fantastic thing. Now, the one song you always hear the pipes play, that's the common piping, but you didn't really know that music went to it. It's called Scotland the Brave. Italy boasts of her gay gilded waters, her vines and her bowers, and her soft sunny skies. Her sons drink in love from the eyes of her daughters, where freedom expires amid softness and sighs. Scotland's blue mountains one, where party cliffs apart, towering in grandeur are dearer to me than of the misty cloud, and of the tempest loud, and of the brave and proud, and of the free. Enthroned on the peaks of her own Highland mountains. The spirit of Scotia reigns fearless and free, her green tartan waving over blue rock and mountain. Proudly she sings, looking over the sea. Here among my mountains wild time hath serenely spun, when armies and empires against me were hurled. Firm as my native rock, I have withstood the shock of England, of Denmark, of Rome and the world. But see how proudly their war steeds are prancing, deep crosses still trotting down in their path. The eyes of her sons with their bright swords are glancing, triumphantly riding through ruin and death. Both hats and nodding plumes, where are their bloody tombs? Deep-eyed in gold is the green tartan's wave. Shifting are the ranks of steel, that is the horseman's wheel. Victorious in battlefield, Scotland the brave. Both hats and nodding plumes, wave are their bloody tombs. Deep-eyed in gold is the green tartan's wave. Shifting are the ranks of steel, that is the horseman's wheel. Victorious in battlefield, Scotland the brave. Victorious in battlefield, Scotland the brave. And one of the most beloved Irish songs that I only learned when I came up here, and my mom tried to get me to learn when I was just a little boy. She'd say to me, "Oh, Danny, boy. Oh, Danny, boy." I didn't get it, I was a blockhead. But it's a song about a father standing with his son, and they hear the pipes echoing down the valley and over the glen, and they know that Danny must go off to fight a battle. And the father says, "You must go, but I must stay behind. And if I should die before you return from battle, I hope you'll come visit my grave, because I'll know, and I'll be happy." And in the beginning, when this song was first written, it wasn't about a father sending his son off. It was about a mother standing with her son and sending him off to war. I offer it to all those you hold deep in your hearts. This is O Danny Boy. Danny Boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's falling, and all roses falling. It's you must go, and I must fly. Know very, very well a country singer who wrote a song way back in the early 1980s. The guy's name is Lee Greenwood. You know it either by God Bless the USA or Proud to be an American. If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today. Well, the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I'll know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, gave their blood to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died and gave the right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died and gave them right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the I know that the day is long, and I know you want to get to some raffle prizes and such. I want to just finish up with probably the greatest patriotic song for this country. A song that was written by the great Irving Berlin, who's made famous by the one and only Kate Smith. And now and again, I have the honor to step out onto the hallowed grass of America's most beloved ballpark and sing. At the 7th inning stretch, I get to perform sometimes this great song. But you know, I got a call not too long ago by a man who just passed away. His name was Lou Gorman, manager of the Red Sox, a United States Marine. And Lou called me up and says, you know, Dan, we'd like you to come out today and sing not for a ball game, but for a tribute to a man who was arguably one of the greatest baseball players of all time, but moreover, he was a great United States patriot. He was a naval aviator. He was a United States Marine, who many people believe his average would have been just incredible had he not left his chosen profession at the top of his career to serve the United States of America. Of course, I'm talking about the one and only Ted Williams. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. Oh, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with gold. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
right with me when I'm out there. And if I explode on at Fenway Park singing God Bless America, I tell, just pick me up and toast a Guinness to me, because I'll be a happy man. I love this country. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So,
hope you don't mind. I'm going to say a few words, and I'm going to kind of park myself over here. Just a few addendums to Jared's story. I would like you all to know that Brian Bradbury, the soldier that was hit and down in that little depression that Jared tried to save, he did live through that ordeal. At least until that evening, where the irony comes in. They sent a medevac helicopter. The plateau they were on was so small and rocky they couldn't land. So they sent down a cable, and they first raised Derek James, who had been shot in the back and the wrist, and he went up to the helicopter. Brian, however, was so badly injured that he couldn't go up by himself. So an Air Force medic came down what they call a jungle swing. Some of you guys know what that is. To help bring Brian up to the helicopter. And they sent the cable down with a jungle swing. And with Heath Craig, lieutenant, came down, he administered to Brian. He put Brian on the jungle swing, and he sat on the swing to hold Brian. And they began to raise it to the helicopter. A goddamn 50-cent pot broke, and that swing fell on the mountainside, killing both Brian and Heath. A goddamn 50-cent piece. I see Scott Brown here talk about military cuts. A 50-cent piece. And 2 men lost their lives. Cut the military, while all those congressmen and senators go on their vacations and receive, after 3 months service, a total retirement benefit, better medical benefits than any of us will ever see. I'm sorry, it just makes me a little angry that my son gave his life to save someone whom he did save, who lost his life because of a 50-cent piece. A lot of people ask me, why did Jared do what he did? He tried once, wasn't that enough? He tried twice, wasn't that enough? I mean, after the first time, every single military gun of the enemy was trained on him. Every one. But he went out a third time. And I'll tell you why. Because he had to. He had no choice. It was here, in his heart and in his soul, that Brian was his boy, and he had to try his hardest. He could never give up. He had to do the right thing. I wish Congress would listen to this. Never give up. Try your hardest. Do the right thing for America, as my son did, as Stephen's son did. Do the right thing. Forget what party you belong to. That's BS. We have people out of work. We got soldiers that come home and have no job. I went up to Fort Drum where my son was. I went to the PX. All the women are in line getting groceries, paying for them with food stamps. Their husbands are serving and dying, and they're on welfare. Hello? Jared did what he did because he had to. It was in his soul. He would never give up. He would never leave a fallen comrade behind. Never, never, never. Steve, I want you to know this. I want them to listen, but I want you to know how much work, how much good Scott has done since his passing. The only way I can live with my son's death is to remember that God said, hey, look, Jared, Scott, you're doing a phenomenal job here on the planet. But you know you can do a hell of a lot better from up here. And from up there, you heard what Scott's doing. That would never, ever have happened with Scott here on the planet. Though Scott was doing great things here, he has done greater things from heaven. And so has Jared. We have started a scholarship fund in Jared's name. To date, we've given out over $10,000 in scholarships to children graduating from high school with military connections. We have raised and given out over $300,000 in baby goods to pregnant military moms. We give a baby shower for them every year. A shower they would never have because they're on bases nowhere near their home or their family. And we give them cribs and strollers and baby carriers and car seats and diapers and baby wipes, and little giraffes and books to read. Most recently, we started a program called Flags for Vets. We decided it would be a good idea to put flags on veterans' graves on Memorial Day and on Veterans Day. And everybody says to me, well, gee, Paul, isn't that done? Well, I'll tell you, my son died in 2006 in June. We buried him on July 2nd. On November 11th, I went to his grave at the National Cemetery in Bourne, Massachusetts, which houses 56,000 veterans. And not one, not a single one, had a flag on his grave. Not one. It's hard to believe, isn't it? 56,000 veterans at a national cemetery, and not one had a flag on their grave. I was so angry, I can't tell you, I'll use bad words. I went to the superintendent and said, why? Every cemetery I drive by, even a little cemetery in my town that has maybe 20 graves in it, every single military person in that and every cemetery I drive by has a flag on Veterans Day. And here I am at a national cemetery with 56,000 veterans, and not a single one of them has a flag on their grave. He said, well, you notice on the road end we have all flags. That's our avenue of flags. We thought that would be sufficient. Because flags on the graves make it really hard to mow the lawn. It's tough to maintain the cemetery. It's tough to live without my son. It's tough to see these men and women who served this country who are not honored with a flag on their grave. It took me 4 years, talking to congressmen and senators. I can't tell you how many generals I talked to. I went all the way up to the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of the Army. I went to the Veterans Administration. I emailed every single veterans organization in the country. And after 4 years, I finally got permission to put flags on those veterans' graves. This past Memorial Day, with the help of 1,500 volunteers, we placed 56,000 flags in Bourne, Massachusetts. And in 2 weeks, on November the 5th, Saturday at noon, we will again be at the cemetery in Bourne, and we will place 56,000 plus flags on the graves there. I invite all of you and your families and friends to join us at 12 noon at the National Cemetery in Bourne, Massachusetts, to help us place those flags. And again a week later on Sunday the 13th at noon to help remove them. I hope that if you can't make it, you can encourage others to do so, or maybe make a contribution to our flags program. This is the good that has come from the death of my son and the death of Steve's son, that from heaven they are helping everybody. They're helping their fellow veterans. They're helping their fellow citizens. God bless you all. God bless you.
And crown thy goods with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, more than self their country loved, and mercy more than blood. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy goods with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, the beautiful land.
But what happened from there is I said, you know, I have to motivate people and instruct people about this great song. And I took history and I put it in a narrative about the great Francis Scott Key, just to pull people in. And I started doing this, and one time at the 100 Club, there was, at that time, it was Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, and at that time, Drew Bledsoe. And I performed this version of the national anthem, and he remembered that. And after September 11th, at the resume of play, Robert Kraft called up and says, I want that guy, and I want that anthem. And this is what I performed at the resume of play for the National Football League after September 11th. Now, the only difference is that many people, you guys know, but many people don't realize that the great Francis Scott Key wrote 4 verses of our national anthem. The 4th being, in my estimation, one of the most beautiful. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine, if you will, that the year is 1814, and this nation is at war. You're on board a ship sailing toward the enemy fleet. That same enemy that just burnt your nation's capital to the ground. Your mission is to win the release of a prisoner of war, a respected physician, and your friend. You're aboard the British flagship, and after tense negotiations, they agree to release your friend. However, you all remain captive because of the battle that is about to take place. On the morning of 13 September 1814, the British fleet began a bombardment against your homeland, the likes of which have never been seen before. Rocket after rocket, cannonball after cannonball, for 25 hours they pound on. But through the night, you're able to look toward the shore and you can still see the stars and stripes flying in the breeze. And in the morning, the bombardment ends and there is silence. And as the sun comes up over the horizon, you're able to look toward the shore and see that the troops of Fort McHenry have raised an American flag that is so large and so grand that each of its 15 stars and stripes measure 2 feet across. A flag that is so magnificent, it cries out, "This is the United States of America, and we will never surrender." You are so moved by this show of guts and resolve, you write the following song. Your name, Francis Scott Key. This is your national anthem.
Peace, may this heaven rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto: in God is our trust, and that star-spangled banner in the triumph shall wave. O'er the land of the free and the home of the free. Mr. Stephen Millett, who will give us the official narrative of his son, First Lieutenant Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's important. It's important. Us coming together and sharing stories tonight. I would like for the Monty's and Millie's story to be told wherever you are in your lives, and get that word out to folks that there's some great kids sacrificing for us. Over the past 11 months, there have been many tributes and memorials held to honor my son Scott, all of which were done with honor and dignity, and the Millie family is truly grateful. However, I have to tell you, at the beginning and end of every day, our hearts are full with pain, with the loss of our beautiful son and brother. He was such a presence in our family. Although his life was taken from us far too soon, we'll do our best to honor him while we continue to move forward. We simply must move forward. We don't get a choice. And we also know that's what Scott would want us to do. President Dwight D. Eisenhower said, "The most terrible job in warfare is to be a first lieutenant leading a platoon onto a battlefield." Ironically, my son Scott's dream was to be just that, and he led his platoon bravely into battle. Scott began his military career at University of New Hampshire, culminating in becoming the company executive officer, graduating cum laude, and accepting his commission as lieutenant. Months of leadership school, airborne training, and more schooling led him to the prestigious Ranger training. A grueling 62 days with ridiculous physical training lack of food and sleep. Mental toughness was tested. His body and mind were stressed to the max. The number of men that began the Ranger training was 338. With failure comes dismissal. There is no shame in this. The number of men that graduated that cycle was 90, one of which was Scott. As Scott emerged from the Florida swamps on his last day of training, the Secretary of Defense swooped in his helicopter, Robert Gates. He was waiting there to shake hands with the country's newest Rangers. That photo brought this family so much pride in his accomplishments, we could hardly believe it. Now it sits next to the letter of condolences from the same office. The Milley family oozed with pride as we attended the impressive Ranger graduation. Scott gave command and led 30 men to that graduation. I thought to myself, Scott is one of 3 that's leading 3 groups of 30 to their Ranger graduation. That means he was in the top 3 of the 90 brightest and best trained warriors this cycle of Ranger School had produced. He never mentioned it. He didn't want any praise or recognition for any of his achievements. Scott's mission, along with his men, was to patrol an area in Baraki Barak, in the mountains, where few American soldiers had been. As they entered the village, they quickly became aware they were being eyed and followed by approximately 11 Taliban. Just before the situation was to deteriorate, Scott began to radio for more help. The radio wasn't working. They were on their own. Scott's training and instinct as a soldier took over, and he ordered his men to take cover in a dry riverbed, and they were to abort their mission and exit the village. The men that had earlier stalked them set up an ambush. As Scott led his men to safety, he was shot several times and killed. I believe if we could ask Scott if his mission was a success, I think he would say yes, because none of his men were wounded or killed. Scott, my son, put his men's safety above that of his own, and in turn they trusted him with their very lives. First Lieutenant Austin McNall spoke at a memorial ceremony in Afghanistan, and I'll quote, "The enemy made a fatal mistake in killing Scott, for he was the one person that was willing to give them a chance. They took away the person who if he was still here, would counsel us to not seek vengeance. That would not be so. He was that good of a person." There's been a foundation set up in Scott's name, and we look forward to helping needy families with travel expenses to see their sons graduate from Ranger training. Scholarships are in place at the local schools. Checks have been written to the wounded warriors and their families to see their loved ones which are gravely wounded at Walter Reed. These are all great things. However, good things have a price, and our freedom has a cost. The Milley family, the Monty family, and the other Gold Star families feel that cost every day. It's brutal. My son Scott will forever be remembered for his selfless sacrifice, for his love of God, his family, and his country. Rangers lead the way. Thank you.
Thinking about it, it's fantastic that they're raising money to erect a memorial, because there is nothing worse than people who have given everything for this country to be forgotten. And there was a war not too long ago, they called it a conflict, and there were many, 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 many men that never made it back. A sergeant in the United States Army wrote this song about that monument, and I'd like to do it for you right now. On this DC morning in the middle of July, my brother took me downtown to the mall. I remember I was nervous then, I guess a little scared, to see the names of the servicemen who'd been recalled. recorded there, heard the final roll call and assembled at the mall. And every name's a father, or a husband, or a son, or a daughter, or a brother, or a cousin to someone. There's nearly 60,000 fallen names still waiting at the wall.
Creative yarn basket. Yay! All right, there it is. From Kentucky, case of wine. Pizza Vino. And now we have a Halloween basket filled with all sorts of goodies. 083-992.
Everybody here right now, 5:45 today, you're all doing the right thing. Money in the kitty. You guys understand what today's all about in the last 4 hours of this afternoon. I, Ken Gidney, as a veteran, as a soldier, as a guy from Natick, I'll do the right thing. I just want to thank everybody. In this program, you'll find 182 fallen soldiers from Natick. There are 33 of them. The rest are 152 of Massachusetts fallen. Over the last year, I have met Mr. Monty, Mr. Milley, Dan Magoon. I play hockey with Dan. We will erect a memorial out front here, probably May of 2012. And I greatly appreciate your support.
Well, we finished it. We were happy to do it. And we hope you enjoyed it. And look forward to another one of our video tapings on Veterans Corner. Right there, Sergeant Know-All? Yeah, Sergeant Know-It-All. He says it all. That's my boy.